Hello, and welcome to the Mr. 50mm YouTube channel. I'm Mr. 50mm, and for today's episode, I'm going to show you a camera I actually bought in Korea. And that camera is this, the Ricoh AF-5D. And we're going to talk about, the process of how I bought the camera, my experience with the camera, developing film in Korea, and how this camera generally came to supplant the Canon III that I brought with me to Korea. As you can tell, I'm still not back in my doom bunker. I'm in Korea still for a couple more days, so this might be the last or second to last video that you see filmed here. But yeah, let's get into it. So what is the AF-5D? Well, it's a camera made by Ricoh, as you can see, and was released in April of 1984. It features a 38mm f2.8 color Ricoh lens, which is a Tessar style 4-element 3-group lens design with a filter diameter of 46mm. The camera uses a active IR autofocus system located up here, and it has a viewfinder with parallax correction marks, and focus indication, as well as low light indication. It has a magnification of 0.46 times and a field of view of roughly 83%. The camera does auto exposure via a CDS photo cell, and film is automatically wound and rewound by the motor built inside. The ISO setting range from this camera is 25 to 1000, and it does not support DX coated film. It has a flash and a self timer. In the event of accidental shutter release, or to prevent it, it uses the interlock lens cap system where when you put your lens cap on, it effectively turns the camera off, then the shutter will not fire. Now, this camera is powered by two AA batteries over here, and since this is the AF-5D, it has the quartz back module here, which uses a 2025 coin cell battery, which I'm never going to use. Now, this camera, it comes in at 330 grams, and when it was new, this camera cost 42,800 yen. Adjusted for inflation, that is about 56,700 yen, and that's about 343 Eagle Freedom dollars, or roughly 550 beaver tails. Now, this camera is actually still, it's got a webpage still on the Ricoh webpage, so I'm going to put a link to that in the description below, and if you're looking for the manual for that, it's also got a manual page on the butkus.org website, which is, by the way, an excellent repository for old camera manuals, if you didn't know. And I'll also link to that down below in the description. So where did I get this camera? Well, first off, let me say I apologize for my pronunciations of the locations that I'm going to say. I do not speak Korean, so I may get these wrong, but I'll tell you where I did not get them. So I didn't get them at your regular camera shops on Namdaemun Street or in the Chongmaru area. I instead went to a flea market for this. And I know what you're thinking. Did you go to the popular Dongmyo market? I did go to that area. However, that's not where I got this camera. This camera actually came from a pretty adjacent marketplace called the Hwanghak-dong flea market. And yeah, that's where this camera came from. Again, it's very close to the Dongmyo. It's basically adjacent to it, one street down. And again, links to that market as well as the other ones that I was talking about. Oh, the other one and the other camera streets, or yeah, camera street, will be in the description below. I'll, I guess, drop a pin on Google Maps or whatever and copy the link. But yeah, so I bought this at a flea market and I paid roughly 80 Canadian buckaroos for that. Now, honestly, when I was looking for, well, when I was walking around the area, I wasn't really actively looking for a film camera since, I have a bunch of these f2.8 style point and shoots in Canada, and I'd brought my Canon III. That being said, in the back of my mind, I realized that the Canon III is maybe not the best choice of travel camera, especially if you're traveling with a family and doing a lot of stuff with said family. Just getting the Canon III out, focusing it, metering it, double checking the meter, taking a shot, kind of interrupts the flow of the day. So I didn't actually shoot it that much. I did still shoot, I think, 2 rolls. Yeah, 2 rolls of film are about 2 rolls of film are through it. I've got a couple shots left on this last roll. But yeah, as I was in Korea, I did more and more long for a casual shooting experience. So when I eventually came around to these flea market areas, and I spotted this, it kind of piqued my interest, even though I really should have packed my Mamiya M or literally any other point and shoot camera that I've reviewed on the channel. But, hindsight is mean that way, and I didn't have one with me. So I picked this up. Now, this actually wasn't my first choice. I was looking around the area and I noticed there were quite a few other more well-known 35mm cameras. You got your Canon Autoboys, your Nikon 35 AF-35s, and basically all the ones from the other brands also exist. But I did notice that if you're looking for like a Nikon, a Canon, the prices for them would typically be a bit higher. On average, when you're shopping at these places, expect that you're going to be paying mostly around regular prices that you'd see online. There's not really that many deals for them. In fact, I'm pretty sure I paid a little too much for this, but it was honestly like the best deal of the lot. Plus, I already have like Autoboys and a bunch of the other ones, so I didn't really want to buy doubles, so this one is different, so I picked it up. But yeah, what you won't have is like pretty crazy deals in either the flea market or the camera shops. What you will find, though, is that they have a lot of stock of cameras in either area. Well, depending on where you find the cameras in the Dongmyo, that is a like through and through more traditional idea of a flea market where people bring their stuff out and sell it. You're not going to always find a crazy selection. Although in that area, there's also shops that do specialize in just selling cameras. And again, for those places, you'll find they have a lot of cameras. And it's the same for this flea market in the Hwanghak-dong flea market. You'll find shops literally stacked to the brim with cameras. So you're not hurt for choice. But yeah, deals aren't that common. Again, expect pretty normal prices. I will say that if you are looking to haggle, I personally found that they are a little more willing at the more casual vendors in the Dongmyo, and generally for the Hwanghak Dong flea market that I was at, they're more like fixed stalls. So they're more like tiny shops than a flea market to me. But yeah, in that area that I bought this camera from, the kind of haggling power is a little more diminished. I didn't really get like much off the price of this. You're basically going to be paying close to whatever the price that the person comes up with when you're talking to them. And, as always, this area is you're in Korea, so English may not be their first language. You'll likely need to communicate via calculator or translation app. For these flea market areas, generally with a flea market anywhere, don't forget to properly inspect the gear that you're picking up. Just for reference, in the flea market area that I was at, I actually kind of wanted to get a Canon 35 ML, and I was pretty excited in one shop where I saw like 3 of them. That being said, when I picked them up, none of them looked like they were gonna work. And that was more or less confirmed when I took the battery pack or opened the battery door on one of them, and the entire door basically spring-loaded away. And when I peered into the battery compartment, the blue battery juice had gone all over the entire compartment. I've cleaned up battery bays before, but generally looking, you can kind of tell whether or not it's going to be a bit of a wash or if you're going to have some reasonable luck in getting this thing back to life. So yeah, if you can, pack some camera batteries if you know what you're looking for, and plop them in, give them a shot. Ask the store owner first if you're okay to do that. But yeah, just be thorough checking it. Standard flea market rules. There's like no guarantees. As I said, the Ricoh is a camera that I bought to more or less replace the Canon III. And I know what you're thinking. Why would you do that? You bought your Canon III. It's a beautiful looking rangefinder with a beautiful set of lenses. This seems weird. Well, as I said, I was looking for a more casual shooting experience, a point and shoot one, if you will. And the the Canon 3, while a beautiful camera and amazing to use, it is not casual. It's quite the process to shoot. I know that might just be me. I'm not that fast when it comes to using the rangefinder, and I'm not that good when it comes to automatically guessing the exposure. So when I'm shooting with the Canon 3, I tend to take some time to frame it up, tend to take some time to do the focusing, and of course, many exposure checks. I have the electronic little meter on top of my Canon 3, so I always have to refer to that, and then make sure the camera is set properly. It's not super quick, and in fact, it is a bit flow breaking if you're out with family and you want to take a shot, and yeah, whip the camera out, stand there, twiddle, do settings, take shot. People are going to be waiting for you. So it's not that ideal for that. Now, I do admit, when I have time and I had the ability to go out and just shoot with the Canon 3, it's very fun. Rangefinders are great. The Canon LTM lenses are great. And again, the overall feel of the Canon 3 is quite nice. This is a all plastic build, as you might have noticed, and the Canon 3 is nice and metally. It's a different kind of shooting. But yeah, I wanted a camera that was casual, and this does that in spades. With the automatic exposure, automatic film winding, all that stuff, it's quite solid. Even the autofocus is something that I can appreciate. I also know what you're thinking. If I wanted a more casual shooting experience and I didn't want to just, shoot the Canon 3, why not shoot one of my digital cameras? You are correct. I could have done that. But film is, after all, fun. I assume that's what the F in film stands for, fun. And, it's just a different experience. And I don't always want to shoot digital. I do a lot want to shoot digital. It's quite good. But there are times when I'd like to walk around with a film camera. And, I also want it to be as easy as shooting digital, apparently. So, yeah. In hindsight, I should have packed one of my many film point and shoot cameras. But now I know for the future of traveling with my family, maybe pack more casual camera gear. Lessons for, again, the future. But I'm glad I bought this Ricoh because it's a camera that I don't yet have, and it's really quite nice. Now, we'll actually talk about this camera now, if you can believe that. Now, the camera, it's all, as I said, all plastic build, hard plastics everywhere. Despite that, they do give you a little perch to hold and grip the camera. And it's quite comfortable. I actually really do like this. And you might have noticed on the top, there is a film shot counter. It's right in the center, it's very prominent, and it's quite easy and quick to glance at. So good stuff. And the shutter button, bright and orange, so you can't miss it. Overall, the camera is a relative joy to use, and its size means that it's relatively easy to pack around. I tended to have this on the side pocket of one of my camera bags, and I could easily pull it out, flip the cover, take a shot, and put it back in the bag. So if you watch my video on the Mamiya M, you'll know that this cap style interlock system is a thing that I've encountered before. I don't super like it, since this cap I'll probably eventually lose, but I'm glad that this one that I did buy still has the cap with it on its original plastic strappy thing, but it's only a matter of time before that gets lost. So when I go back home, you can expect I'll be 3D modeling and 3D printing a replacement cap. So whenever that's done, I'll put a link to that in the description below. So if anyone is watching and has one of these cameras but has no cap, hopefully I can give you a hand and you can 3D print one yourself. So let's talk about the viewfinder. So as I said, you got low exposure warnings and distance scale information. It's not quite like the Mamiya M1 where you have a needle that will zoom into the position. This one kind of is like the Minolta one that I reviewed earlier, where you have LEDs on the side light up, and they light up in your traditional pictograms. You got your mountains, a group of people, a pair of people. No, sorry. Mountains, a group of people, and an individual. So you got 3 focus zones that it's going to tell you about in the finder. Now, it's on the right of the finder, and on the top of the focus zones, you'll have a low light / flash warning indicator telling you that you might get camera shake and you may want to pop up the flash. This is generally overall a system that I like. I do prefer the Mamiya needle a little more, just because I found that the LED projections on the viewfinder were at times hard to see in bright conditions. I would have to kind of squint, and I really couldn't make out what they were in bright with a bright background. I could only generally see the location it was at, and I was like, well, if it's not at the top, it's not mountain, so I think the focus is good. But that could be easily rectified by half pressing and moving the camera to a darker spot, and it'll retain where its focus was. So it's still pretty good. I do prefer the needle, again, just because it was a little easier to see in most conditions, except for dark. So I will admit, if you're shooting a lot of high ISO stuff, that needle is going to be hard to see with the Mamiya M, where on the Ricoh, it's just going to light up and you'll be good to go. Give and take, there's some benefits. But yeah, otherwise, I found the controls and handling on the camera to be fairly good. I found image quality, again, also to be great. I don't think any of these 35mm f2.8s on any of these point and shoots are bad at this point. They're all pretty sharp, pretty punchy. I think I did a roll of slide film Velvia 50, and it looked fantastic. Even though my roll was very expired. And I did regular 35mm color negatives as well, and that also looked great. So the lens performance, pretty solid. Exposure, pretty good, considering that, at least for me, I was shooting some expired stuff, and actually some still expired, but less expired stuff. So we'll get into that in the next section, but overall, very happy with the overall picture quality of it. I will say there were times where the focus would kind of mess up, and it would almost always focus behind, but it wasn't that common, and I could generally catch it in the finder before I took the photo. That being said, one thing I will mention about this camera's interface and controls is that this shutter button is super sensitive, and there was at least twice where I thought I was half pressing and it went full press, and I took a photo and I did not intend to. So beware. That might just be all of them, but I don't think it is. This feels quite nice. Not nice, but it feels like it's been a well cared for camera, so I don't think this is missing or broken or has anything wrong with it. I think the shutter is just fairly sensitive. One last thing, I read online that there were a couple complaints that this camera kind of has a complicated film rewind system. I don't think that is the case. It might be the case if you've only ever shot fully automatic point and shoots, but if you've shot any other film camera, it won't be super foreign. But just in case, let's go over that real quick. So when you have expended all your film, click, 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 you will notice that the film counter will not advance, and the motor will make an angry noise. Alternatively, you might also notice that the camera has detected that and will make a bunch of beeping noises. And when that happens, you will know that your film is done. Alternatively, you could look at your film counter and go, look, I'm at shot 37. I'm one over. The film is probably done. I always like to take the one extra shot anyways and see if I can get one. If not, whatever. But when you're done, either the camera will tell you or you'll see your shot counter and you'll want to take the film out. What you do is you flip the camera over and you press this R button. And once you got that depressed, you got this rewind tab. You slide it that way and the camera will automatically start re-spooling the film. And you can even watch it as the shots fly backwards. So when the camera goes, finishes its countdown, you'll get to S, and that's the beginning of the roll. You're generally good to stop the rewind. Your film will be fully rewound. Then you can pop the film door, pull the film out. Not too complicated, right? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it isn't. Let me know in the comments below. Shooting film and developing it in Korea. Let's talk about that. So at the moment, I have shot through 2 rolls of film, and this is my 3rd one in camera. That's why you haven't seen me take random shots with it or anything. It's because I still got shots to go on this camera. And anyways, what I'm saying is I shot some film and I have some scanned. The film that I shot, again, it's FujiFilm Velvia ISO 50, and it was super expired. If you don't know, for expired slide film, turns out you don't really need to compensate for the amount of expiredness. You just shoot at the ISO that the camera or that the film is meant to be shot at. So you don't need to, put it down a stop or whatever. Again, shoot the stated ISO. I actually wasn't aware until I looked it up because I don't shoot that much slide. That being said, I noticed on the Ricoh here, it goes from ISO, again, 25 to 1000, but it actually didn't have an increment for 50. So I shot at 64, slightly under, I know, bit of a sin, but what can you do? I wanted to shoot my Velvia. And yeah, even though it was very, very old, it came out quite nice. Turns out the tips were correct. Shoot at the stated ISO even when it's expired. Awesome possum. Now, the next roll I shot was a roll of film that I bought in Korea. It's called Hoasca 100, which I believe is Kodak Vision 3 50D 5203 daylight film with the rem jet removed, as is tradition. Now, as it turns out, this also was an expired film that I bought from the camera shop or film shop, but it was freshly expired and they had discounted the film. That's why I bought it. It was very cheap. So yeah, good stuff. So being that I'm still in Korea for now, I got my film developed in Korea. And I recommend that if you're here for a little while and or just want to develop some film in country and for reasons like not wanting to bring your undeveloped film back on an airplane or whatnot, come to FilmLog and get it developed there. It's honestly a pretty great shop, and they will seemingly develop anything. It's kind of awesome. Again, I got my E6 developed and C41. Obviously, they will also develop medium format film, and it's a pretty quick turnaround. Overall, the shop is also just really cool. You can, again, buy more film there if you need it. And again, they have a pretty huge amount of film stock, and they do seem to store them pretty properly in fridges. If you get one that, is in, expired or whatever. The film that I got was taken out of a fridge. And they do have film, again, laid out in the store, but there was a film fridge ready to go as well. So it does seem like they know what they're doing with their film, and you're not just going to get a film that's been out in the open for a million days. The other thing is if you want to just see a cool place, the shop itself has, pretty cool photos and art around the shop entrance, and you got like prints and stuff hanging everywhere. It's pretty awesome. Again, if you're also looking for cameras in Korea, FilmLog has a selection of film cameras as well, and not just your used secondhand cameras. The Pentax 17 and the Rollei 35 AF was cameras that I saw in the shop as well. Additionally, getting stuff developed in Korea was pretty easy there because they actually do have an English form that you can fill out and just drop off your film with them. They do also deal in English as well, which is quite nice. Now, developing film in Korea has some, I guess, at FilmLog had a bit of a, time delay depending on what kind of film you were dropping off. I found for C41, it was pretty quick, between 3 and 5 business days. I think at this point I've dropped off 2 C41s, and they're generally closer to 3 than 5. But for my Velvia, and I did drop off an Ektachrome, those were on the order of 5 to 7 business days. But once they are developed, they will be scanned fairly quickly, and you'll get the scans available if you make an account with FilmLog on their webpage. And it's quite nice because they'll, again, upload your scans and label the film that it was, and the interface is overall fairly nice. So, good stuff. Honestly, if all camera shops did this, I'd probably be pretty happy, and I would make an account with all the shops that I have locally nearby, but I've not encountered this. That being said, I do normally get my film developed and not scanned, so maybe there are shops that do this around me and I just don't know. But I do know one thing. Developing E6 in Canada is a pain in the butt for me. I'm not near any places that do develop it, so when FilmLog said that they will take it and they do develop it in-house, I was quite happy. Again, back home, if I needed to do this, I think I would need to ship the film to Montreal or Toronto, and a couple of the labs appear to basically give shrugs when it comes to the development time, so pretty happy with the experience at FilmLog. By the way, this segment is not sponsored by FilmLog. I'm just a pretty massive fan. It's an awesome place, and perhaps one of my favorite spots in Korea. Probably one of my favorite spots on planet, maybe off planet. I don't know. Maybe there's a place on Mars that develops E6. But, yeah, if we ever get to that point, I'll let you know. So that's all I got for this video. And, just to make it clear, I'm still glad that I brought my Canon III with me, but I just didn't take it out as much as I thought I would. And, I guess buying this Ricoh has taught me something about myself, so I'm pretty glad I got it anyways. But, you know, when it comes to traveling and it comes to film, what are your thoughts? Do you think that you'd pack a point and shoot? Do you think you want to pack a rangefinder, or do you not want to bother with film at all when you're traveling and just go with the convenience of digital? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe a super thanks if you're into that. Till next time, bye.